We are live, Your Worship.
Okay, I'll call this legislative meeting of January the 19th, 2021 to order at 2 o'clock. I'll be looking for a motion for the agenda that's here in front of us. Councillor Waters, is there any additions or deletions to the agenda? We're going to be going through it as quickly as we can here today, folks. We have another meeting at 4, so everybody keep that in mind. Okay, all those in favor? Carried, thank you. And now the adoption of the minutes of our last meeting. Councillor Warwell, thank you very much. Everybody's had a chance to go through them. Is there any errors or omissions? Seeing no hands. All those in favor? Carried. Sandra, do you think our next presentation from the Western States Hockey League, Brian, is ready?
Yes, sir, they're ready. I will let them in right now.
Excellent. Hello, Brian, are you with us? There he is.
Mr. Mayor, if I might interrupt, Ron's just taking a few moments to load. He must have had a bad connection. I've lost him. As soon as he comes back in, I'll have him join.
Okay, Brian, are you muted or unmuted right now? Can you hear me, Brian? You can, okay, good. You'd like to unmute now, then we could maybe hear you. Please.
Is that better?
That is a lot better.
Thank you very much.
So I guess we're just waiting for Ron to make a new connection, so.
Okay, great. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
How's the landscaping business this time of year?
Well, right now it's a little bit slow, but hey, I'm working on some vinyl fence jobs and whatnot for the spring already, so that definitely helps.
Yeah, well, this is a good time to get those quotes together and get some product lined up. Usually there's a discount for that type of thing in the winter. They get a little.
Yeah. Or you have to get a bunch of coal and put it in the ground in order to dig holes. It's all good though. It's all good. Hopefully he connects soon and we can get going. We don't want to waste your time.
At this time, I don't see him in the waiting room.
I'll give him a message here and see what's going on.
Well, we got a few minutes to kill then. If he's not in the waiting room right now, let's give him a couple minutes. Let's see if we can confirm right now a date for the meeting with Elk Island Separate School Board. What were the dates again? Because I don't have that open right now. Cliff, do you have it? Maybe.
I have them handy if you want.
Okay, what do you got there, Councillor Berry?
January 28th, 1 to 2 p.m. February 3rd, 2 to 3 p.m. And February 8th, 1 to 2 p.m. February 8th is the night of that night we have council.
And it's 2 to 3 is the available date? The time?
February 8th is 1 to 2. On the 3rd, it's 2 to 3.
Does anybody have a problem with any of those dates right now?
Nope.
Marielle, you do?
January 28th, I'm not available.
Okay, so let's take January 28th off. And the 8th is our council meeting
That night, yeah.
at night.
That's a regular council meeting that day.
So how's February the 3rd for everybody? Good, good, good. On there, Marielle? You're good? So there we go, folks. It's going to be February the 3rd, 2 to 3. Sandra, you get a chance, you'll send that out to everybody's calendar and an invite.
Mayor McPhee, I just got a message from Ron saying that his internet went out and he's trying to use his phone for a hotspot to go ahead and start without him. No worries. I can do that.
Okay, Brian, you have the floor. Or your
All right.
screen.
Thanks. Thank you very much, Town and Council, for meeting with myself and Ron White from the Western States Hockey League. We give you a presentation a couple years ago, and at the time it just didn't fit into your plans. And our biggest goal is to make sure that we're not conflicting with your Junior B team that is in town as of right now. And after I had a meeting with your town, with your Junior B hockey team back in December, that's why I brought a presentation forward again. So I had sent over a presentation. I'm sure you guys all have it. And basically, I'll just run through it with you guys. The Western States Hockey League started up in 1993 by a guy by the name of Don Thorne, Dr. Don Thorne. And he originally had 6 teams. And in 97, Dr. Thorne had appointed Ron White as the commissioner of the league, which is 27 years ago. And Ron White is still a commissioner of the league. Then in 2018, Ron moved the Western States Hockey League up to Canada, and we started out in Western Canada here with 4 teams. And I happened to be part of the organization trying to bring teams in, and my goal originally was to bring teams into the Western States Hockey League and provide players to Junior B teams that didn't make the Western States Hockey League team. And that was sort of my niche into to the Junior B organization in Vegreville originally. And the Northeast Junior B League didn't quite see it like that. So we got into a little bit of a battle. I ended up getting suspended from the league. And since then, I've went through a court case and won the court case. They realized that wasn't what was going on, and things are better. You've probably seen in the paper, there was a write-up, and Jameson also had a write-up on the radio as well. And so moving forward, Ron White, the commissioner of the league, had brought teams in 2018. And our goal is to develop players in the Western States Hockey League, which is a Tier 2 junior league, Junior A league, to advance players into college or to move them forward into better hockey situations. That's basically bringing players from that are not quite good enough to make the AJ or the SJ, to give them another spot, to keep them playing hockey 4 or 5 days a week as practice and playing every weekend to get them into a situation where they are up to that quality. So the year after, they can either go to the AJ or the SJ, or we have a great college program which moves kids into the college ranking. And then we run something that's called I wasn't quite prepared to do this here part, but that's okay. We run something called a showcase down in Las Vegas the first week before Christmas every year. And during that showcase, it was December the 17th to 21st is when it was scheduled for 2020, which of course, because of the pandemic, we didn't run a league this year. And there's a lot of teams and leagues that didn't because of it. But in 2019, we handed out 204 scholarships to hockey players that play in our league to go to either NCAA Tier 1, 2, and 3, or the ACDC League. You'll probably see on one of the pages there's the annual showcase. And those are those are all of the colleges that were invited to our 2019 showcase. And other than that, basically we're just looking at trying to establish another town to bring into our league. We want to have a minimum of 6 teams this coming fall, a maximum of 8 teams. And doing that, my job as the Canadian director is to bring teams together to play in our league. And when I heard the situation that Vegreville was in, of course I tried, I'm trying to approach you guys again to see if it would be feasible to have a team in your town and get the community support behind it. One thing, like I said, I did have a meeting with the Junior B Association, and after our meeting of what we had talked about, Joe had said, go and reach out to the town again. So that's why I'm here. And basically, in a nutshell, we're not really asking much from you guys besides ice. And, we would look at bringing an ownership group in to run the team here. We would use, it would be a great benefit to the town itself because first off, you'll have all kinds of billet parents that'll be needed to billet kids, and they get paid to do that. We utilize a whole bunch of your daytime ice, which isn't being utilized right now. Monday to Thursday, anytime during the day is great ice time for us. And Friday, if we get a practice in the morning, like say 10 o'clock, and then on weekends, not every weekend, but every second or third weekend, we require a Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday, or they can be staggered, so we don't take ice away from people that are needing it now. And that's besides that, we ask for a dressing room, and there's options without your Junior B team around as of right now to make that happen, and we'd be excited to bring a bunch of live Junior A hockey action to Vegreville.
Okay, just so everybody that's listening, we're live right now, Brian. The Junior B executive has never approached the town and said they're not going to keep going with their program. So I want everybody to know that. Nothing's ever been said to the council or to the town. Can you just let us know? So Hinton, Edson, Coal Lake, Slave Lake, did they come on board?
Slave Lake never did come on board, but we brought another team in, Barrhead. They're called the Barrhead Bombers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so we have, right now we have 4 teams. We lost Meadow Lake.
Yeah.
And the reason we lost Meadow Lake, it was just wasn't ran properly. I hate to say that, but you know, it is a pay to play hockey league. And in order to pay your bills, you know, it isn't cheap to run a league. So you have to have those bills paid, and it being a pay to play hockey league, if you don't charge your players the right amount or collect, then you run into issues. And you know, it's very important that that your bills are paid.
But Coal Lake operated again, and they we haven't heard too many negative things out of that. So they're still
No.
in the lake.
Yeah, so far things are going okay up there in Cold Lake, but you know, you always, of course, you always run into situations because of having a junior B team in your organization. You know, in a town, they're fortunate to have 2 beautiful rinks up there, and there was never any conflict between the rinks. It's just fan base is the only issue, right? If you're playing at the same time, where do they go and watch? Because that did happen last year. Both teams were playing at the same time, quite regular.
Okay. So it's my understanding that the Junior B executive are having a meeting on January the 31st, and we'll get a update from them.
Okay.
So basically, the terms on the ice rental and stuff, we'll look at if there's a will here to go forward. And you'll be looking for a local ownership, or how would that work?
Well, it would be nice, of course, to have somebody that is local, but there is somebody that is interested in owning a franchise that would be willing to step up to he wouldn't be a local person, but of course it would be local managed, locally operated. So the coach would end up moving over to Vegreville and living in Vegreville, and the manager would be here in town. And, you know, so it wouldn't be owned by the guy in town unless, of course, we find somebody that is interested in an ownership right now. And our prices are like phenomenal compared to anywhere else in order to own a team.
Okay, does anybody need any information from Brian right now? Any other Councillor Warwalla?
Hi, this isn't just this is kind of just general so that I'm thinking of all it in my back of my mind. You mentioned like the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, does your league do Sunday games that are afternoon, or they still do evenings, even though we're talking about a Sunday, would be my first question. And then the second question is, without getting too deep into dressing rooms, is it my understanding though that whatever dressing room you might be considering, you would want exclusively, not opened up to any other groups?
Yes, thank you for the question. The Sunday games, it doesn't matter if they're Sunday evening or Sunday afternoon. You know, to these kids, it doesn't matter anyways, because they are all here. They practice during the day. To play on a Sunday night, it doesn't mean anything. There's live view through a company called Black Dog Hockey. That's where all of the scouting agents that can't come and watch the games themselves, they watch live anyways. So it doesn't really matter if it's Sunday afternoon or Sunday night. Afternoons would be better because it brings in more fans. But other than that, as far as the dressing room goes, yes. When you practice 5 days a week, you know, the billet parents, they definitely don't want to have the equipment moved from the dressing room to their house and stink it up on a regular basis. So it would be something that we would be interested in having of our own room. Most of the other cities and towns that are in our league, they all have their own dressing room exclusive.
Okay, thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, Brian, thank you very much. And Ron, hopefully you could hear that, the presentation. And like I said, we are waiting for the Junior Bees to have their executive meeting the 31st. We'll get a little more information on where they're going with their program over there. And then we'll get back to you, Brian.
That sounds great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good day, everyone.
You too. Okay. Do we have somebody from Zigzag? Zag Creative, Zigzag.
They're scheduled for 3:30.
Oh, so we got lots of time then. So maybe we'll move with Dale's right into Mr. Trachuk's correspondence.
All right, thank you, Your Worship. This is correspondence received by Dennis Trachuk on January 13th by the town. It was written on January 11th. This letter is to inform council and the town of Vegreville of problems created by construction of the town drainage project. And he's got in brackets Walmart and then seed plant. Since this drainage was constructed, we here on Northeast 32, 54, 14 west of 4, which actually should be Northeast 32, 52, 14 west of 4, have flooded 3 of the last 4 years. This project did not fix the problem, it just transferred the water to us. If the town wants us to store your water, we will expect compensation or some type of resolution. He has CC'd the County of Minburn, County Council, Government Alberta Water Services, MLA Jackie Armstrong Homyuk, and it is addressed to the town of Vegreville.
Okay. So Dale, we have a license to the province to release water at a certain rate from our retention ponds there?
Yeah, we do. We have, it's an engineered pond. It has pre-development flows that we have to manage, which means whatever the flow was before the construction of the pond, we have to maintain that same flow. And we are doing that and probably less. I have talked to Graham Shell, the County of Minburn superintendent, 2 years ago, and he's quite thankful for the pond on his end because it drastically reduces the impact of water that's heading downstream into the county as we slow it down so it goes through a treatment process. I did check in with the County of Minburn's development permit when this structure of the house was constructed, and the permit was pulled in 99, so I assume the house was built 99 or 2000. And it just has notes in the file that say that the applicant was made aware of the concerns with the floodplain, as he's not only in a tributary coming off of North Parkway drainage, he's also right next to the Vermilion River as well. And that the building examination plans noted that advising him again of the floodplain. So an effort was made then too to notify. And I'm sure that Mr. Trachuk's aware of that as well. There's another.
Go ahead.
There is another attachment that we just received recently, and it's attached onto underneath these 2 items. The map that's attached that you're letting now, if you just scroll up, shows the location of the Trachuk residence. And then in the bottom left-hand corner down low, you can see the North Parkway drainage, the 4 large ponds there. So you can see that the North Parkway drainage system follows that wide bending, meandering flow system. And then it does get awfully close or up to the Trachuk property, as well as continuing north, where we believe that at some point it was dropping into the Vermilion River at that point, right in the vicinity of where very close to the yard or the construction of the house. From what we can tell, the information we have, I have not gone out to his property to have a visual look myself. And again, like I said, there is another attachment below the one that you see on your agenda that was given to us by a local pilot who was nice enough to share the photo with us and said that that's what it looks like when it floods. And I don't think it was just in the last year or 2. I think that's the impression was it may be an ongoing thing. I haven't gone out to Mr. Trachik's property every year for the last 12 years to see what's happening, so I don't know. But it does give a good realization of what Mr. Trachik is up against.
Well, there's no doubt about it. There is a problem, but the problem started long before we put in our drainage system, our system. And I have had 2 conversations with Mr. Trachik about this, and I've asked him to write a letter to us if he wanted a formal response. And I know that our license, we cannot release any more water than what the natural flow was there before. That's why we built these ponds, to retain this water. I've been to his place before we built these, and there was flooding before this. Is there any way that we could hold back any water? I know that when it gets to the road level, that we need to release. And even at the rate that we're releasing, or that we're licensed for it, sometimes if we wait too long, it can take over the road. So I know that, you know, on a moving forward, is there anything that we could propose that might slow down some of our release to help him out? Councillor Barry.
I certainly sympathize with his situation there of the flooding in that area. But as a fisheries biologist who's worked on a lot of streams in the province, and also being involved with the Vermilion River Watershed Alliance, when you take a look at the surroundings of this location and can see the old oxbows and the remnants in the air photos of where the river has meandered in the past, unfortunately, it's very clear that this area is in a very low and floodplain. I've driven by it basically every spring. I've always thought it was very pertinent that his roadway had been constructed in an elevated fashion, and his house and buildings are sitting higher. But if you actually go to the Vermilion River itself, it comes over its banks well up towards the shooting range and etc. And I would suggest that it would be the bulk of the water that's coming through there is coming from the river itself, not through any tributary in that area. And I don't think holding back would really make very much difference, because the amount of water that's coming down to the North Park drainage is minuscule by comparison to the volume that's coming down the river itself. So, I mean, like, I've studied rivers, I've worked on rivers, rivers much greater in size than this one. And it's very unfortunate that he is sitting in a floodplain, and the Vermilion River, as we all know, goes over its banks on a very regular basis. And in this area, all of that area is so flat with so little elevation that every spring it floods a large area as the river itself. So that would be my assessment of the situation, looking at air photos and looking at the river system that is there. It's unfortunate, but I think there's very little that could be done whatsoever to protect this property. Thank you.
Okay, well, go ahead, Dale.
And just for the last of the information, this correspondence was CC'd and sent to county council, who took it to their meeting yesterday, and they have received and filed it, and there will be no further action.
And within my conversation with Mr. Trachik, I told him that no matter what, if we were adding to the problem, that's not good, and then we were going to look into it. But I knew how our license for releasing the water was set up, that we couldn't let more go than what was the natural flow. And I was just wondering if there was anything we could do to slow it down at times, that maybe help him out a little bit, because I know that most of it is from the river, and wherever we're releasing is no different than it was 15 years ago through that whole drainage system there. So.
Yeah, it would actually be less than 15 years ago, because we have a controlled orifice in that is half of approximately a 14-inch pipe or culvert that leaves the North Parkway drainage, and it is blocked at half as engineered. So he's really getting this much of a size of water coming out as opposed to, like Councillor Barry had recommended, as opposed to the Vermilion River, which is, doing thousands of cubic meters a minute.
Okay, well, I guess we can get back to Mr. Trachuk, letting him know, like what I already told him verbally, that our license only allows us to release what the natural flow was before, just so that he can understand it. And there's really not a lot we can do about it. It's not us that are adding to his problem. I mean, it's not like it hasn't happened before we put this water mitigation system in there. So retention. So, okay, thank you very much, Dale.
You're welcome.
So Cliff, we might as well do the talk of the town schedule then.
Okay.
All right.
We were to bring this talk to the town schedule back to today's ledge meeting. So right now we have up until the first week of February taken. So ideally, if we can fill up February and March would be on a go forward basis would be excellent. So this week is Councillor Warawa, and her topic is on tourism. And then on the next week is Councillor Rudick, and her topic is on economic development. So,
Sandra, what do you got?
There's been a change to the schedule. I thought that Councillor Warwa and Councillor Waters switched because of the last talk of the town.
Yeah, Your Worship, I did the talk of the town 2 weeks in a row, January 7th and January 14th.
Okay. Councillor Waters.
I was under the impression I'm recording this week as well, for the 21st.
Councillor Warwa, what do you know about that? Is that what your
Yeah,
impression?
yeah, that was totally fun. That was just while I was double checking because I knew there was some back and forth on it. And actually it's better because I'm kind of hoping that there's a couple of announcements that will come that will actually be in my talk of the town. So that would be great.
Okay, so then that puts Councillor Rudick for the first week in February, economic development. Okay. Yeah, when do you think we're going to go to tender on our new industrial ag food park?
We're just working with Alberta Environment on our wetlands is what we're doing. So I am hoping soon, Your Worship.
Because I'd like to start talking about that too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Your Worship, we have Councillor Barry scheduled on February the 4th for Family Day.
Okay.
Okay.
So is Councillor Rudick before that or after that?
It would be after. So there isn't one for February 11 being a Family Day. So the next one would be for February 22nd. Would Councillor Rudick be available then?
Sorry, so you'd like me to go to the February 22nd, rather?
Yeah.
Right. Taping on the 18th, airing on the 22nd.
I wonder if it might not be worth pushing it back another week because we've scheduled the next meeting for February 25th.
What, economic development meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, so then we're looking at the 22nd right now, or the 18th, I guess, is for taping. Councillor Broadjack, do you got anything you would like to speak on?
I don't have a particular topic in mind right now.
Okay, so what about one of the department of the town? What's going on? What are we moving forward on? Councilor Riddick?
I wonder, given the fact that we've had some snow and we'll be having some colder weather again, is it worth having a conversation about some of the snow clearing or road maintenance concerns that people have been asking?
Who's been asking?
There have been a few comments.
Well, if they don't know what they're talking about, we don't need to address them, but I wouldn't mind taking a date in February. Phil and myself will go in and talk about facilities, the upgrades to the town hall, the upgrades to the new event center, and the upgrades to the old RCMP building. And we could put a little schedule together and let people know in the town what's happening there. Thank you, Phil. So if you want, we could do that on the 18th, tape on the 18th for the 22nd. That way Councilor Rudy could come the following week after the economic development meeting.
Okay.
Everybody good with that? Okay, so Phil, put that in your calendar. Okay, so that leaves one more week in February. Anybody?
I'll take it. If no
Doesn't
one
that
else.
be February?
So that'd be the February 5th recording and airing March 1st.
25th in March.
February, yeah. Okay, recording March, or sorry, February 25th and airing March 1st, yes. Okay.
I
Which
think that
date
was,
Councilor Rudick's?
yeah, I think that was, and you know what? I'm happy if Councillor Brodziak wants to do that for economic development. We could do that on the 25th, but I think it was a different week, right? I think February 25th was economic development based on the date of the next meeting.
Okay. Sorry, I just had some problems with my calendar here. I'll get it. So you want to take the last week is what you're saying, Councillor Rudick, and Councillor Brodziak moves up to the 22nd? Sorry.
I can go in March, March 4th.
Okay,
Taping
so
March 4th to March 4th and March 8th.
Okay.
So Councillor Rudick, that would put you taping, oh, your meeting's on the 25th. Would that be the taping day?
I can arrange, yeah, and that'll be fine. I can just arrange to make sure that it's taped after we've had our meeting, so not a problem.
Yeah, they don't mind doing it on Friday the same time. I've done that a few times.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can arrange that.
Okay, so you're gonna do the taping on the 26th, and then the Councillor Brodziak will take the one on the 4th. Okay, so now we have the 11th and the 18th, the 25th. Councillor Barry.
I will take a March date in all likelihood, but I can't set which it is at the moment. I want to talk with Tara. The first board meeting for the hospital is tomorrow night. And I've already spoke to her, and I think she's in agreement that we could do something on the health board and the hospital, but I haven't set a date.
Okay.
It would actually be the week of March 11 for recording and airing on March 15. Councillor Brodziak has the week before.
Yeah.
I'll take that tentatively.
Okay.
And then if that doesn't work, I'll get back to Cliff.
Okay.
I'll
Okay,
take the 18th, March 18th. I'll figure something to talk about.
Okay, and then that leaves Paul Casey with some finance reports or something. Okay. Well, that's enough for today, Cliff. We don't want to
Very
get too
good.
far ahead of ourselves.
No, that's good. Thank you.
Question.
Go ahead, Councillor Borba.
Just once you have updated, can you just recirculate so that I know that I wrote it down here right? Because I kind of scribbled all over, so that would be good. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay. Wow, we're flying right through this. And you said Zag Creative is at 3:30?
Yes.
So I guess we can just sort of move on to councilors' reports or round table. Go ahead, Cliff.
There's one more item, and that's the 2021 calendar.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Sandra has prepared this and put in the meeting dates as well as the stat holidays and other key dates such as election dates, AUMA and FCM. So if we can take a couple minutes to review this and possibly make a suggestion for some of the summer dates.
Okay.
Would council consider canceling the July 20 legislative committee meeting and July 26 council meeting? And August 3rd and August 9th. That would give us 4-week break. And then we would, of course, on the basis that if required, we would have a special meeting.
Councillor Broadjack.
Oh, I'm not on mute. Could I make a suggestion that for July, that the dates be scheduled for the 13th and the 19th, and then August to be scheduled for the 10th and the 16th? And then it doesn't, there's a bit more of an even distribution between the dates that we meet.
Okay, so one ledge, one council meeting in July, one on the 13th and the 19th.
Yeah,
Okay, and the one in August, you want it what?
the 10th and the 16th.
You know when your holidays are going to be right now, Councillor Broadjack, or?
I sure don't. But I'll know when to plan.
Exactly. I don't mind that. So we're having a council meeting right after our ledge. So we can get some more work done that way and move stuff through. I'm okay with those dates in July and August that Councillor Broadjack's proposed. Is there anybody that isn't? What are you thinking, Cliff? What on the men's side? What do you guys think?
I think that'll work well. So, okay, then we know as well what we can do for planning.
Okay. Thank you very much. That worked out well.
Okay, the other, just a note for council, and that is November 22nd is a council meeting, but depending where AUMA is, because it hasn't been confirmed if it's going to be Calgary or Edmonton, pre-conference would be on November 23rd. So if, and of course that would be for new council as well. In the past, there have been a number that have attended pre-conference. So just to keep that one in mind, I'm not asking to change it, but just keep that in mind. And then we were looking at December. to cancel December 21 Legislative Committee meeting and December 29 council meeting.
Yeah, well, that all makes sense.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay, good. Thank you.
thank you. Okay, so we'll start with our round table. So we're going to start with Councilor Riddick. You're at the top of the screen on my page anyway, so.
Okay, let me just find my notes here. I had a few things. I'll start with, had a comment about booking swimming times, and maybe some of this will be a moot point because facilities may or may not be able to open more widely as we move forward, but some concern about the numbers of people that are able to book and use the facility for lane swim. So I haven't heard that complaint previously, and I know that it has been working quite well. So that was just a query. Last night, the Yellowhead East Health Advisory Council that I now belong to as a volunteer had a virtual health and wellness conference similar to the ones that we used to hold in person a number of years back. And there were over 80 participants last night checking in from across the zone. It was very positive and really good feedback from a lot of the attendees. I also wanted to specifically mention a thank you that came at our Economic Development Board meeting about the chamber bucks that the town decided to expend for our employees. So that was met with a great deal of appreciation and maybe an unintended positive consequence as well, as not only were we able to keep that money local and encourage people that work for the town to be able to enjoy services and businesses that they may not otherwise, but just a specific thank you from the businesses that were very appreciative for that extra influx right before the end of the Christmas, or right during the Christmas season. And a specific thank you from one of the recipients of the C1 incentives that found it extremely valuable to be able to get that in the 2020 year. It's a challenging year to be running a business, and so just a specific thank you for that as well. And I just wanted to pass on a thank you and a congratulations to our MP Shannon Stubbs for winning again Parliamentarian of the Year from Maclean's Magazine.
Thank you very much. Councilor Barry.
I don't have a great deal in town itself, but I would just like to mention that we had a Zoom meeting with Vermilion River Watershed Alliance, and just planning for the future. We have now struck a educational committee, and it has a good alignment, and it's connected with Lakeland College. And we also have one school now that's very interested in working with students with us out at Murnum. They're right close to the river there and such. In fact, for our eco buffer that's in town here, and the one that we just put in at Two Hills, we had the signs made for them here in town, but the school out there, their grade 8s took on one project and their grade 9s took on the other, and they have built the stands for both of these signs, which I thought was rather a good involvement for them. They're very interested in it. And this spring we'll be trying to hold events to get those signs placed, and little events, and share it with the students who built the stands for them. I'm hoping to be able to do that in town here in June. I'm hoping that maybe our events center will be in a state that I could maybe book that for the Vermilion River Watershed annual general meeting this year, and bring all of our members to the Alliance into town and unveil the sign and hold our meeting there and see the advances that we're making. So that's just where I'm at right now, is I'm hoping that maybe things will loosen up with the pandemic by June, that will allow us to hold a bit of an event there, connect with the watershed. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Waters.
There you go. Not too much for myself either. Did have a Rotary meeting today, and we're trying to step up the momentum on the bike and skate park again. We had a video made by a local talent here, and it's a 12-minute video, and it features some of our potential users of the bike and skate park, supporters, and that kind of thing. Just trying to streamline how we can share that with everyone and get the momentum going with that. And also some of the fundraising efforts. There's a hockey draft out right now, if anyone's interested, to support the bike and skate park. Other than that, I really don't have much to report on this week.
No phone calls?
No, it's been relatively quiet.
Lucky you. Councillor Warwa.
Well, obviously, I will have more when I do my report from. I just had a bunch of meetings in the last 2 days. This is everything ended up in 1 week. But 2 calls that I did have that I wanted to just bring up. Since we've been talking about the cultural center, I just did want to share with council. I received a few phone calls about that, and when we've been talking about the fact that we've been moving forward with some of our renovations and plans, the calls that I got were actually really positive and just said that they were really glad to see that moving forward. And so I believe that from what I heard, I think there was quite a bit of support for the fact that we looked at a grant that we weren't expecting and decided to put it into a place we knew was there but might not prioritize. So I just want to share that because I actually did get a couple of calls, and I think it came from us talking about it in this online format and people are hearing it. The other one that I have written down here is a little bit in line with Councillor Rudix, and it might become a bit of a moot point depending on answers, but Phil, if you can, think ahead as to if it doesn't change with regulations. Some people are asking, since we do rent out the swimming pool and we do have staff obviously that's there, I have received a couple of questions about why or if we would consider renting out the arena as well. Now, of course, we know it's not rental of an arena as far as like for teams, but there are some people who are even saying that they would be willing to rent that ice for the 1 hours, one-on-one, or in some cases, what we're hearing is where some of them are expecting that their season may not open, but they're preparing to participate in what could either be an extended season or it could be early training camps, and they're trying to get back in shape. And of course, with our outdoor rink, being popular and people using them, there's less opportunity. So you don't need an answer, and I know that things might change with the announcement. I just want to throw it forward, though, that I did receive some requests whether we would consider renting out the arena itself. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lemko.
Yeah, Your Worship. I've had no citizen complaints, only the odd kudos to the community for moving forward with the event center and having local businesses being able to work during this time. I had one thing just to mention. Last year, we all remember that it was the 100th anniversary of the Vegreville Centennial Library. And none of the events took place due to the fact of, we all know COVID. I still think that maybe we as a council or community could recognize the library for 100 years with a plaque or something they can display in their business that shows that they have celebrated 100 years of operations in the community. So some form of recognition, and then maybe a picture with the presenter and local, just to let people know that we did have 100 years. Unfortunately, we couldn't celebrate it. And that's about it.
Since you brought that up, we talked about this last week, you and me, and I've been thinking about the library. Do you think they have the names of all the presidents over the years of the library board?
They might. There's got to be archives there. I think the library would have that. I can ask Donna if she can.
If we were going to recognize them, it'd be nice to do something that celebrates and with some names. And I would imagine there'll be some quite a few last names that are local to this community and stuff. And I know we talked about a plaque and stuff in our conversation, but maybe we just dig a little bit deeper on that.
Yeah, well, we have a library board meeting tomorrow, and certainly I'll bring that up. and get the thoughts of the board on that. And I'll bring it.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
So, yeah.
Rajak.
Okay, just a couple of items. The first item is I spoke of the Southeast 17 Industrial Agri-Food project that we'll be developing this spring at our chamber meeting, and also that the town is looking at some naming ideas. So of course, everyone is wondering when this contest will happen or what the town is planning on to try and attract a promotion to name the Southeast 17 Industrial Park instead of just keep calling it SC 17. So there's a push on that to get that rolling. The second item, I've had a few comments and questions, concerns regarding the COVID vaccine rollout. And I've assured them that the town doesn't really have anything to do with that. However, we will be speaking to our MLA later today in a meeting with her. So it was mentioned on television last night that Jason Kenney announced that all of the senior facilities have been done. And I can assure you that not all congregate living has been completed. I can assure you that Homestead Lodge in Vegreville have not been approached yet and are concerned because they have to follow all the rules when it comes to, if there's a COVID outbreak, they have to follow all the rules for congregate living. So if they are deemed, I think there needs to be a date put so that we can assure the seniors for the congregate living facilities that haven't been vaccinated, we have to assure them that they haven't been forgotten about. So I'm looking forward to that meeting this afternoon, later on.
You know the province doesn't have any more.
That's right.
And you know that
And that's a concern. That is a
factory
very,
in Belgium is closed down. They are only servicing European countries, not Canada right now. So, and again, I've had many phone calls since last night and this morning about not all seniors, the way that was represented, have been vaccinated in seniors' homes and care homes. And I know for a matter of fact that a large complex in Edmonton has 3 large buildings and none of those people in that complex were done either.
that's right. So clarity on that topic would be much appreciated.
Okay, and regarding the naming of the Southeast 17, any thoughts? I know we were going to talk about it. We need to put something together here. That's oh, this is a good place to talk about it. We got a few minutes here. So anybody come up with any ideas on how we would move this forward?
I'd like to have community involvement for sure, in some way.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So what's that look like? Because we can't put it off any longer than this. We just have people write in names and then go ahead, Councillor Barry.
The format that was used for the residential area that ended up with the Foxview Estates naming, was that not having residents submit and then paring it down and having the residents actually vote on it so that the residents suggested the names and then voted on the winner? It could maybe have to be in a 2-step voting, but I thought that process seemed to work quite well.
Councillor Rudy.
I think that process worked very well, and we would just want to make sure that we're blending both social media as well as traditional media so that, for example, those that may not listen to the radio station or may not have Facebook, that they would be able to access the contest. And I think last time there was a prize also for the successful name. So I think if we follow that process, that would be helpful.
Okay, well, seems that we haven't hired anybody in the communications department yet because we're trying to figure out how we're going to get the person that exactly fits the job description that we put together. So we have a meeting on Monday, a council meeting coming up. We better have a solid plan to move forward with this by then. So it's easy to put an ad in the radio, and it's easy to put one in the paper, and it's probably easy to put one up on our Facebook. But I guess it's something that we should all try to share too through our social media of our own, our private ones, our public ones, I guess. And we should come up with what a prize could be. You get to go for 2 laps around town in the grader or something. What? Councilor Wawa, you don't think that's exciting enough?
Well, I just think that will just bring those names flying in.
Okay, well, everybody put their, we're gonna have to have something, and Cliff, maybe you guys can bring something forward to help us out too by Monday's meeting, but we gotta have something moving forward on this. Okay, thank you, Councilor Brodziak. Okay, so everybody knows that there's a virtual HEP conference on the 27th, correct? Good. I too have had a lot of positive comments from the smaller businesses in town about Chamber Bucks. Some are a little leery at first, but it's been a really good program, and they wanted me to thank everybody in council for that decision moving forward. I was very happy to see that our MP, Shannon Stubbs, received the Maclean's Award, and it's, if you're going to win an award, that's the one to get right there. I'll tell you, the best represents your constituents, and I think that we'd like to get her into one of our meetings one of these days. We should try that. I don't know if we can talk to some of the schedules, her calendar, and if we could have a moment where we could talk to her. We'll look into it. So we'll see what we can do there. Lots of comments about the ODR, a lot of good responses, and some of the other skating facilities that we put forward have got a little soft in the middle of the day, but again, a lot of thanks there. I've had a couple of calls about the number of people on the ODR, and I said, well, every time I drove by, there was less than what it was. So that's, we're working off my account. So we won't even bring that up right now. And the naming I had down here. So yeah, basically it's we need to see what's going to happen with the province when it comes to the COVID rules about what we're going to be doing. Is minor hockey prepared to start back up? I don't know what their thoughts are there. What do you have on that, Councillor Warwa?
So what they did is a round of polling through the league to find out where we're at. So I had reached out to Mike and just asked him some availability questions. So right now, we as an association are prepared and do have ourselves ready that should the announcement come in, we could start up. But we have basically said we will call an association meeting towards the end of the month, because we are getting close to a point where if it doesn't start up pretty soon, in fairness, there would need to be refunds, and we would need to discuss what that would look like. So at this point today, if it happens soon, we still would be prepared to go ahead. Okay. And sorry, I should also say, in looking at the chain of emails, there's certainly enough within our region that are in that same spot that have replied back that they still have their ice.
I see on today's news, New Sarepta took their ice out. And there's a few other smaller communities, I think, that have too. So
yeah, and so my understanding is with a couple of them, you know, they're prepared to even maybe look at some ice share if that was a situation. What most have said back is, look, we can't agree to a season that extends into the summer theoretically. So most have said that they would be willing to shorten a season or do some sort of a mini scenario, looking at no more than extension into April, which is something we've done typically before. But I'm just saying, reality wise, it would have to be a quick announcement. If we get another delayed announcement, that will theoretically end it for the season for everybody.
Okay, so as quickly as you make those decisions with minor hockey and your executive, hopefully that we can get to the town too as quickly as we can too, because to keep the
Great.
plant up and running too is cost money. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
okay, thank you. Okay, director's highlights. Looks like Phil, you're first.
Thank you, Your Worship. Couple of items, the walking trail at the Kinsman Golf Course. The park staff started clearing that today and should be operational shortly. When it is all cleared, we'll have a communication out to the public when it's ready to use. And thank you to Yvonne Fisher for her input and into the trail and helped me along with that. So just to reiterate what you had said and what Councillor Wawa had said about the arena and the curling rink, there's actually a number of small communities that have that on their agenda this week and in the coming weeks about shutting their plants off in lieu of the restrictions and the costs that they're incurring. I understand that there's going to be another update on Thursday. We'll see where that goes. But I wanted to keep council or get the council to think about that. What will happen if the restrictions do extend? We normally shut our plants down at the beginning of April, late March. There is talk about expanded spring leagues, but whether or not that's in the bigger centers, like Councillor Rawa said, merging of communities. So again, just keep that in mind when the discussion or the updates come out about restrictions, and I'll keep in touch with Mike and Tina and Hockey Alberta too to see what's all going. I've been in conversation with quite a few of the municipalities, asking what we're doing. There's a little email chain going on with directors asking what council's plans are. So I will keep council updated on what plans are and have some discussion about that.
Phil, you're saying the ice is in at the curling rink? It is? Oh,
Yeah, it was approved. What? Pardon me?
I didn't know we went ahead. I thought that they shut it down just as they were putting the boards in. Oh, but nobody's
the ice got made.
Nobody's curled there yet this year, have they? Oh, I didn't know that was in. I thought that they'd shut it down right after the announcement. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, no, the ice was actually put in, and just it was made just prior to the announcement, so it was all done. So
okay. Nobody's allowed to use the facility under the current restrictions, correct?
No.
Okay. Wow.
So what the expectation?
Ask for clarification on that. We can't rent out to teams, but I kind of read it differently that we couldn't rent out facilities. Can you clarify?
Well, I guess in terms of the arena, yes, we could rent it out to a family, because that is all that is allowed. It has to be strictly to a household. I don't believe that you can hire out a skate like I couldn't hire out a private person to do a skating lesson for my child. That's still, again, it's a bit of a gray area, but that it doesn't sound like with the restrictions that is allowed at this point. But that's not to say that might not be lifted. Same as swimming, having private lessons. Public swim probably will not happen, but you can still have the private lessons. We're hoping that that's what's going to happen. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But the only thing we could do right now is rent it out to a family.
Okay, thank you. That's what I would just want to know. Thanks, Phil.
So I've been sent a few texts and one email by some professional curlers. They were looking for some place to practice. But the ice has not been pebbled, it's not been taken care of, it's not been groomed, set up. So we'd have to hire an ice maker to bring somebody in to get them ready for a practice of a professional curler. So I guess that's out anyway, so. Okay,
Again, we'll find out probably more tomorrow, on Thursday, what, if there's gonna be any changes.
yeah, well, I didn't know it was in. I was, like I said, individual professionals in the sport have contacted me asking if there was a chance they could practice on the sheet. But we'd have to bring an ice maker in because the ice has not been pebbled, it's not been shaved, it's not been set up to curl on. It was just made. The ice maker doesn't go in there every day and shape the ice, right?
No.
Okay. Okay.
And
Keep going.
my last item, we had an ad hoc museum meeting on Wednesday, January 13th. And just 3 members of council were on at that meeting, along with myself and Cliff Craig. So we'd discuss some plans moving forward with the museum board, and I will be prepared at the February 3rd ledge meeting to discuss this in more depth with council on what the plans are moving forward.
Okay. Thank you very much.
That's all I have.
Infrastructure planning development, Dale LaFave.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just getting back to our southeast of 17, just some helicopter points of interest. You had asked about tender dates. Like I said, we were working with Alberta Environment and Parks on our wetland assessment. What we've done to speed this up in just layman terms is what they would like is we provide a design to them. They evaluate the design that we want to have based on what is there today. Now remember, this wetland just qualified as a wetland assessment to the developer's advantage, if you will. So instead of designing the wetland, sending it in, get approval, maybe don't get approval, depending on the impact, and go back and forth, we will pay a fee per hectare based on a full wetland compensation. And then we submit, that gets us going now on a design now. And then what we can do then is, however adversely we may be affecting the wetland, is what we will pay, and what we're not adversely affecting, could receive a refund on it. So instead of waiting a length of time to get the design approved, this allows us to design it now. And then if there's a cost for compensation of an adverse effect to the wetland, then they would keep a portion of that fund, which isn't huge big dollars in the scope of what we're doing. So that's the holdup. The lift station itself, for the sewer lift station, these are the plans here for it, and I'm reviewing them. And so obviously with MPE, also with the help of Harold O Controls, who has been our SCADA programmer and has basically created our entire communication and operation system in the town, because we would want this lift station, the new one, to talk to the current system that we have, not we change the entire system to talk to a new lift station. So he's helping us with that. So at this point, quite comfortable in what's happening. I'm happy with the relationship that's going on between a contract, between MPE, between the town. We're doing well. The lift station design itself, I would guess us at probably very close to 90% complete on the design. So that's not too far away from tender. We've just got confirmation from Harold O Controls that the communication line, the type that we use is a radio signal from the proposed side of the lift station, will communicate. Already we've done a pre-testing on the connection, and it's 100% solid. We got a direct line. We'll have no issues whatsoever. So lots of good news is coming in. It just takes time to put all these little pieces together, because at the end of the day, we need a facility that's going to work, with no bugs and just get it rolling. So I know it's tough when you're sitting on the outside wondering, what's happening, when do we go to tender, when do we go to tender? But as you can appreciate, and I know you do, there's a lot going on to go to tender with the right product at the end.
Excellent.
That's my update, Your Worship.
Thank you. Corporate Services, Paul Casey.
Basically, right now, I'm pretty much tied up working on getting ready for auditors who will be at the town office from the 22nd of February till the 24th of February. It's actually not going too bad. I do wish I had a finance manager at this time, but we'll work through it. And I know that Megan is planning on coming back in April. She sent me an email saying she's definitely coming back in April. So I'll be maybe having a drink then when she comes back. Today I applied for a Canada Summer Jobs grant for 6 positions for the town. 2 for parks, 3 for public works, and 1 administrative staff, either for the main office or whoever might need it. No guarantees we'll get any or all of those positions, but last year we got everything we asked for, so I'm not sure what's going to happen this year. I know that FCSS also applied under their name for Canada Summer Jobs. I'm not sure how many employees they applied for though. So that's in the process. And there was one other thing I was going to talk about, and for the life of me, I can't remember what it was. So that would be all I have then for now.
Okay, thank you very much. And just so you know that I've already heard that Megan has lined up childcare for the 1st of April. So looking good for you. Okay, Cliff Craig, what do you got?
A few items here. I've been spending a fair bit of time on economic development, telephone meetings with the chair, with MDB Insight, with ZAG and Lono. And then we had a VDAB meeting last week. So then there was some follow-up for it as well. I've arranged a meeting with the superintendent for the RCMP for early February with yourself and the staff sergeant and community services director and myself. So we are moving ahead with the communication position. I'll have more of an update for you in a week or so. Future meetings of council. Are you still comfortable with using the Zoom format, or are you looking at going in person at any time?
I think that until the next announcement from the province, I think we're all pretty much ready to stay where we're at for now.
Okay.
Unless I don't see anybody saying they want to get together. But it will be coming fairly shortly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
That's it. Okay.
There's lots going on, but that's what I can report at this time.
Yeah, I know.
So.
Okay, so just so everybody knows, the meeting with Elk Island, the board trustees is the 3rd of February from 2 to 3. Get that in our calendars, or I guess Sandra's going to send that out to us. Okay. Oh, we went through that agenda fairly quickly. We still got 15 minutes before ZAG Communications. ZAG Creative, sorry, Communications. Okay, go ahead, Cliff.
Given that we have a few minutes, could we talk a little bit about the museum transition ad hoc committee?
Yep.
Okay. We were going to bring it up in a couple weeks, but given we have a few minutes, at the meeting, we probably had our last ad hoc museum transition committee meeting. The museum will be paying the balance of their bank account, of their operating account to the town. We are requesting the main computer from the museum that is not on site, but we will be requesting that through the museum board. And the future of the museum for the society, we're looking at a different concept, and we'll have further discussion, but I think it would, do you feel it's appropriate to say what it is at this point? What we're looking at?
I think so. I mean, it's not going to be a secret, so.
Okay.
Let's go.
The Museum Society, we'd like to retain the society and change the name on the society through registries and Alberta. And we're looking at Vegreville Historical Society rather than Friends of the Museum Society, which was a concept that had been thrown out earlier. The Historical Society then would be all encompassing, like it's not restricted just to the museum at that point. And if we, by changing the name, then we would also retain the license for the casino. And they're slated next year, I think it is, to have a casino. So there are some plans that have to be made, but just put your thoughts on that, and we'll be bringing information forward. But that is, I think that's a very positive move, to look at a historical society, and we'll be asking for some public input and participation and membership on this as well, once we get it drafted.
So Phil did some research on this, and it's the easiest way to do it, and retaining their society status and not falling out of the queue for the museum. Plus, they'll be able to keep the bank account for the gaming commission and stuff without reapplying for all that. So as soon as this gets set up, the two remaining directors, will say, that are on the museum board, will sign over everything to the new board that'll be formed under the Vegreville Historical Society, and it'll have a lot larger scope of input into the community other than just the museum. So it is, like Cliff said, a very positive moving forward. And once we get the computer and a little bit more information off the computer about some of the donations and stuff, I'm pretty sure that we're pretty much done now with our ad hoc committee. What's going to happen now with the museum and how it looks and what's going to happen with the artifacts is all up to us now. So, and hopefully it's all going to be a smooth transition, and we start reaping some of the positive stuff that we need to see moving forward there. So.
And Phil will be bringing information forward. I just wanted to update council on where we're at on that. And there's a whole process involved. And in time here, once we get the details ironed out, we will be bringing information forward.
I'd like to pass on what was said at the meeting by the acting president, the vice president of the museum. They wanted to thank council for doing what we did. They weren't even realizing the situation they were in, and there was no path forward on the way they were operating. And they just feel that they were just willing to keep going the way they were with no real path forward. So they recognized that what we did was not maliciously something that we did to them, but it was something that needed to get done. And they appreciate council's efforts to help this situation go the way it is going. So they were very upfront about that. So, and again, it was nice for them to say that. So. Was unexpected, but it was very nice for them to say that. So. Okay. We've never had this problem before, where we had time left over. I let you all know that it's about to be a cold snap coming up here. And we have a lot of expensive equipment that sits outside in our snow removal program and stuff. And I reached out to Cromtech about taking over the large bays again and the wash bay for our parking and cleaning of our equipment and stuff. And they had those other 3 bays cleaned out first thing this morning. I talked to them yesterday. They had it all cleaned out today. So Dale and his staff are trying to figure out how they're going to get their card readers set up for the back end there, and we'll be parking all of our equipment inside again for at least for the majority of the cold part of the winter. So go ahead, Dale.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you for that again. That really helps us out in a big, big way to get that equipment out. Even when you plug the big stuff in outside, they'll start fine, but the hydraulics take forever to warm up and it's not good for them. So we actually will have all of our key swipe cards tomorrow mornings when we pick them up, and we'll be able to wiggle some equipment over there before it gets cold on Friday. So that's awesome. The timing is perfect. Thank you again.
Yeah, well, I want to thank Crontech. I mean, it wasn't even a discussion. If we need it and they're not using that part of the building right now, you guys go right ahead. So it worked out well. So I hate to see those graders and the trucks and everything else sitting outside being plugged in. It's not bad when it's -8, but when it's -20, it's not good for that type of equipment. So, and it gets a chance too, like, I don't know, the wash bay is very important to our operations, keeping things clean and when you're working on them. So right now we've been washing outside of the public works shop, which is never a good situation. So. Okay. Oh, go ahead, Cliff.
Would it be possible to have a 5-minute break, a recess?
Let's do it.
Okay, thank you.
5 minutes, and then Zag Creative will be here at 3:30. So are we going to stay live, Sandra, or what do we do?
We will stay live just for ease of connection. So if everybody just wants to mute and stop their video for right now when we come back.
Right, don't stand up if you're wearing shorts, okay?
Exactly.
Sandra, do we have Zag in the waiting room?
Yes, we do, but I don't have them all. So I'm just letting them know that I will let them in, but we are technically recessed right now.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Oh,
Are you all working from home today?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
I think we have everyone here now. So,
I've got 4. Is there 4 with your group?
yes, there might be one popping in a little bit later, but I think we've got everyone right now.
Where are we at with our count? Everybody's back? Okay. So I have not met anybody here before. So I'll introduce myself. I'm Tim McPhee, the mayor of Vegreville. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Councilor Rudick. Have you met a few of these people?
I have met most of them a few times, so welcome back and nice to see you all here again.
Thank you. In the interest of time, we can go ahead and get started if you'd like us to.
You go right ahead. Yep.
Okay, awesome. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Madison, and I am the Town of Vegreville's account manager at ZEG. So as some of you may know, ZEG is a full-service Edmonton-based marketing agency that has been working alongside the Town of Vegreville on and off for the past few years now. So we are here to present to you today some background on the general awareness campaign that we developed and launched in the fall of 2020 and the impact it has had to date. So in addition, we've developed recommendations for moving forward into 2021 and how we envision our relationship with the town continually growing into the future. So we have a few of our key team members on the call as well. We have our co-creative director, Corey. We have our digital manager, Elisa. And then we have a partner of ZEG who works with Lono, the lovely Gabby is here as well. So Lono is one of ZEG's very close partners, and we work together on online ads initiatives, which is a huge part of this campaign. So with that, just in the interest of time, we will go ahead and get started with the presentation that we have ready for you today.
All right, perfect. We can all hear me. I'm good.
Yep.
All right, perfect. I'm just going to go into full screen mode, which always does a little twitchy thing. So I'm just going to. There we go. All right, perfect. So yeah, like Madison said, we are ZEG, full service marketing agency based out of Edmonton, Alberta. With the town of Vegreville, we had an opportunity for an economic development campaign, that being one that was segmented into different audiences to reach different markets, specific to what Vegreville has to offer in terms of economic development. There were key sectors that wanted to be identified, or that Vegreville had identified as the sectors that we should target. So we based a campaign around the idea of targeting those markets, still having an overall arching message, One that spoke to the idea of opportunity as a doorway, as something that a portal that one could walk through, that doorway leading in the end to Vegreville. In terms of what we wanted to do is just awareness on the different markets. We wanted to ensure that people thought of Vegreville positively. We wanted to attract new residents and businesses as well to that area. So the target markets that we identified was technology, agriculture, families, hemp and cannabis industry, and oil and gas being the last industry there. So the approach, like I had mentioned, was a gateway to opportunity. That was a simple approach in the terms of we wanted to represent visually an opportunity through a gateway or that doorway to opportunity, and ensure people that in Vegreville, opportunity was available and it was wide open. So we utilized that, but in developing a doorway visually, we wanted to kind of take the egg that is so well known to Vegreville and kind of approach that as that gateway or portal. So I can show you an example here. And that is it right there. So for different markets, we had different taglines or introductory taglines. The future is wide open is the tagline of the campaign. So this is the future is wide open campaign. In each scenario, we have someone stepping through to some value add that Vegreville has, or some opportunity, or part of that dream of either economic development, or in this case, starting a family. So where there's time to live, the future is wide open. That's speaking to the idea of it's not so hustle and bustle. There's no traffic jams in Vegreville. There's wide open spaces. There's places to take your kids. You really have the time to live in Vegreville. The innovation sector, technology, that sort of idea we wanted to appeal to. So we said when there's space to innovate, kind of represent that through the sciences, through coding, through the idea that you can set up shop, you can start a business here. Again, speaking to the future of that being wide open in Vegreville. Where there's room to grow, again, playing with the idea that you can grow hemp cannabis sector within Vegreville. Again, the future is wide open. We also used the idea of your connectivity with the internet programs within Vegreville, the idea that the high speed is there, the fact that connectivity is very easy. We wanted to make sure that we had that message out there. So where connection is easy, the future is wide open. We had the idea of the oil industry as being one, the oil and gas sector. I mean, oil and gas services, being able to set up shop in Vegreville. So using language to tie into the idea of energy, where there's energy, and that either being energy as in the oil and gas, or energy as in an entrepreneurial spirit. Where there's energy, the future is wide open. And those are the pieces of creative there. In which we would animate and have ready to be applied to in the digital realm. The campaign materials included recommendations to provide information and inspire action through a campaign landing page. So we recommended a landing page. We recommended various strategies, including a public relations strategy, which we had passed along in terms of speaking notes, ways that this creative could be utilized, different trade shows, that sort of idea. And then we also provided a social media strategy, how that this campaign could be wrapped into Vegreville social media and utilize that campaign. We also did some out of home print and radio advertising recommendations. We created some radio advertisements and Spotify advertisements, actually specifically. So that's it from me. I'm just going to move that right along to Gabby to talk a bit about Lono's involvement.
Thank you. I'm just going to do a screen share myself right now. Perfect. Awesome. So my name is Gabriella. I'm manager of strategy and sales with Lono. We are a technology and digital media vendor. As mentioned, we deal with ZEG very often, and I had the pleasure of being on this campaign. Today, I'm going to walk you through the campaign results that we had from when we launched in October until the data at the end of December, as well going into some 2021 recommendations. The premise for this campaign was awareness. So we wanted to make sure that we were able to capture our audience that had interest in relocating their businesses. So whether it was entrepreneurs, business owners, or family, to be moving to Vegreville. With that, we wanted to make sure we followed that journey throughout their phone. So whether they were reading the journal on their morning app, or they were doing a run and using MyFitnessPal, connecting with old friends on Facebook, connecting with business professionals on LinkedIn, or listening to streaming services like Spotify. We launched the campaign in mid-October, and again, this data is just until the end of December. In that timeframe, we had a very successful campaign. This campaign exceeded all of our digital benchmarks that we try to obtain, which is wonderful. In total, we served over 1.4 million ads. From those ads, we had just shy of 21,000 clicks. We increased website visitors by 3,695%. That means that website received 8,842 new visitors from the time we launched on mid-October until the end of December. A little bit of a summary of the journey and where those 1.4 million impressions were divided through Hyper. So Hyper is an awareness. This would be any websites or apps that are not a social media platform. On here, you'll see that we served over 710 impressions, and we increased the industry success model. LinkedIn, we did this platform for a very short time period, just for the 2 weeks in October, and had extreme success, and were able to serve over 24,000 ads. In Facebook, we launched that campaign from November 1st until the end of December, and we served 525,000 ads. With Google search, or search as you see it listed on here, we served over 76,000 ads. And on the streaming service Spotify, that would be for anybody that has Spotify downloaded and is not utilizing Premium, which is 70% of people that have that app downloaded. We served 95,000 ads. So you'll see those are that 1.4 million impressions in total, and that's how it looks divided out. Some highlights, as I mentioned, we increased website visits by 3,600%, which is absolutely incredible. 93% of users were driven to the website by these ads. So they were served the ad on social media or while they're on a website, and then got to the app, to the website by either clicking on it or Googling it itself. Some demographics were 59% of users that we reached during this campaign were male, and the age was split fairly equal, with the highest traffic coming between groups of the ages 35 through 64. Through the awareness piece, which was our Hyper, LinkedIn, and Facebook, each of these campaigns had different strengths with our audiences. As Corey mentioned, we are wanting to target people in oil and gas, agriculture, technical services, and each of those platforms engage differently with those audiences. In terms of ZAG's creative work and what creative performed the best, the Grow Creative had the strongest performance on our Hyper platform, followed by Connect and the Time ad set. On LinkedIn, Energy had the best performance, and by chance was actually the lowest performing on Hyper. So with that, we know that oil and gas professionals are engaging with this content on LinkedIn, but maybe not when they're surfing the web on Kijiji. So that's why it's really good for us to have multiple platforms. On Facebook and on Instagram, our innovation videos had the most clicks and had the strongest click-through rates, followed by connection videos. The small, medium business audiences and entrepreneurs engaged the most on this platform and likely interested in relocating with their small businesses and families to Vegreville. With Google search, this platform's keywords related to branding, so whether if anyone's searching Vegreville, town of Vegreville, drove most of the traffic to the site. And with Spotify, we reached over 28,000 Albertans. Some of our recommendations continuing what we have had already success with 2021. What we don't want to do is we don't want to lose any of the momentum that we've already built up. Should we pause this campaign, the unfortunate thing is that we lose all those devices and the data that we've collected thus far. So we really strongly recommend keeping this motion going forward. So again, this campaign is about generating awareness to those individuals that have interest in relocating. And how we're going to do this is comprehensively through the use of those different digital platforms. So whether that's Hyper, Facebook, LinkedIn, Search, or Spotify. Our target regions where we're wanting to target is going to be Red Deer and Northern Alberta. On here, the timelines would be continuing this progress. So we are currently in this campaign for January and continuing this momentum for February until the remainder of 2021 and going into January of next year. How we had it currently allocated with our spend is a monthly budget of $10,400. When we first launched this campaign, the first 2 weeks, we had issue accessing the Facebook platform. So we had to pivot our budget. And that's when we leaned on LinkedIn. However, during that 2-week period, LinkedIn had tremendous success. And so our recommendation going forward is to keep our budget the same monthly budget of $10,400 and allocating a percentage of that to LinkedIn to reach those users on that platform. Again, we want to make sure that we continue this momentum as we've had significant success and obviously drove significant amount of traffic to the Town of Vegreville website. Again, as I mentioned on the insights, each category that we're wanting to target, so whether it was hemp and cannabis, oil and gas, or technical services, they all engage differently on different platforms. So that's why it's great for us to comprehensively utilize different platforms on the phone. What we want to make sure is that when somebody's using their mobile phone, their tablet, or their laptop, is that we're connecting with them on every stage of the game. And as I mentioned, should we look to pause this campaign for any moment, we would lose all the great traction and success that we've already been building in the past few months. Corey, I can pass that over to you for any final recommendations on your side.
Still muted there. Sorry. Yeah, absolutely. We can, I'll just share one more time. Basically, what we wanted to do is ensure that in the future, we continue the campaign as it goes. Oops, sorry. I'll just run through your slides here. We wanted to ensure that we keep the campaign running as it does. We want to continue the digital recommendations until year's end, at least, as this is sort of built out to be at least a year-long campaign. So it's a 12-month campaign strategy implementation with a creative refresh around the 6-month mark, in which we would revisit what the ads actually look like and ensure that they're not, overexposed to people, and we can redevelop the creative to get fresh stuff in there. We wanted to update and implement the organic social media strategy as well. We feel that organic social media can help move the campaign along if it's integrated pretty well. So that's something we recommend looking at for Vegreville, as well as implementation of the out-of-home, the radio and print ads. I mean, in its conception, you're always going to want to have those like 5 touch points, those pieces where you can have people see the ads out of home, they'll hear them on the radio, they'll see print ads in things like trade magazines and publications. So we want to reiterate that to the audiences surrounding the area, and then of course implement the PR strategy. And that's it for the recommendations here. I was hoping to take time for some questions.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you for the presentation, everybody. And so now, who has any questions? Nobody? Councilor Rudick?
So I don't have any questions because I saw this last week, but maybe as a point of clarification for my colleagues that maybe have missed the first part, just to reacquaint you with the process where we are right now, that originally the Economic Development Board had looked at leasing billboards to advertise for people to live here. And so originally the campaign was called If You Lived Here. And that's originally how we engaged ZAG Creative. Coincidentally, that was around the time that the CARES grant was applied for, granted, and received. And so some of the recommendations from the CARES grant were to specifically advertise in a few different areas, the 5 different areas that were delineated in the advertising campaign. were the target audiences that we were seeking to engage with as a community, deliberately advertise to and encourage them to move to our community. And the CARES grant is community revitalization and economic development and trying to diversify our economy. So that's really what we were looking to do with this engagement. So this is why the Economic Development Board has moved forward with this. There were some decisions made with communications and the former economic development manager, some of which some of my colleagues here weren't familiar with. So some of this is a little bit of a catch up. So this advertising campaign you may have seen on your own social media platforms, but just to reaffirm the idea that this is carrying forward some of the aftercare with the CARES grant to this delivery platform and moving forward. So this is actually taking some of the work that we received grant funding for and carrying it forward to the future.
Okay. Help me if you can here, Councillor Rudik. Where is this money and what budget is this money in that we're allocating if we move forward here?
So the Economic Development Board actually made a recommendation at our last meeting that we would do a partial carry forward. So I appreciate the hard work of ZEG and the team here, a very talented group that have definitely measured what has gone on to date and what will move forward. So at this point, the recommendation from the Economic Development Board was that we move forward with a 3-month period of funding, most of which will be coming from the CARES grant. So that will be grant funding. So it will be all in the economic development budget at this point, using up some, but not all of the CARES funding. So at this point, I think the majority of the funding would be coming from that CARES grant, mostly provided by provincial and partially by our funding that we had already granted. So it's already in that budget.
Okay, so Madison, your recommendation is that we stick to a 12-month plan right now, is what your company is saying?
Yes, that would be our recommendation.
Does anybody else have any comments? I'll go ahead, Cliff.
Thank you also to the ZAG team. This is my third time in seeing this presentation, but never gets old. With the CARES grant, this qualifies under the aftercare program as part of the funding in our application that we had set aside in our as part of the grant. And the board looked at 3 months to the end of April. A couple reasons. One was that would give us a full 6 months, it's about 6.5, but a full 6 months to evaluate the data to see where they're at. And then also we would have our new economic development manager in place for 1 month to review the data and status of things.
Okay. Councillor Rudik.
So maybe there aren't questions from my colleagues here, but just to, again, encapsulate what we've done here is try to do intentional marketing to specific groups of people that we could potentially see moving either their families and or their businesses to the community. So the whole idea is that rural communities are an example, particularly in the COVID-19 pandemic period, that we have the opportunity to deliberately and precisely market to people that might consider relocating for a number of different reasons. That the old adage that you move for a job isn't necessarily true, that people are looking for community, and we have much to offer. I think even just the discussion that we've had in our meeting here tonight, talking about our recreational, our societal benefits that we have by living in a small community are things that should be shared, and it can't happen by accident. So as we're moving forward with Southeast 17, we also are moving forward with residential opportunities, and these marry together perfectly.
Okay, so I have a question. Councillor Rudik just brought up a project, Southeast 17. We're about to develop an industrial park here. We're going to have focus on hemp, but then it is an industrial park, and we're trying to attract not exclusively, but the hemp sector in that industry, plus any other businesses So we will be launching a campaign directed right at that here. So we're limited on the dollars we can spend before this new campaign when we get this put together. So I just want, you know, to everybody to think about that moving forward here. I like the work that you've done, and these numbers are impressive. Again, we will have to take some break from this and then switch our gears, more focused on trying to attract the industry that we need to fill up this $10 million project that we're developing here moving forward. So, but we'll talk about that on our own here, but I want to thank you for the work, and so we'll have a conversation, and Cliff will get back to you about moving forward for at least the next 3 months here shortly. Does anybody else have any more questions? Oh, seeing none. Cliff, go ahead.
Yeah. This will be coming to town council on Monday night as a board motion from the Economic Development Advisory Board.
Excellent. So I've already put some thought in it and get ready for some discussion on Monday night. I want to thank you and your group for your presentation today, and thank you for the help that you've provided the community here with up till now. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So is this meeting pretty much done here? We're going to adjourn and we're going into our next meeting. Are we live in our next meeting, or is it a meeting that's not on Zoom or not on YouTube?
It's not a live meeting, and so once we adjourn, we can move on to that one.
Okay, I will adjourn this meeting.